this is Jen from Winrose Fiber Studio. Today we're going to take a close look at how to crochet the floret stitch. The floret stitch begins with a chain that is a multiple of 2 plus 1. I'll be making a 5-inch square swatch today using a medium weight yarn and a 5mm hook. In order to make the size that I desire, I am beginning by chaining 19. Remember to keep your beginning chain a little loose. You're going to be working into these stitches. Here you can see my chain. For row 1, I'm going to be working into these back bumps. For row number 1, you'll begin by double crocheting in the 4th chain from your hook, and then you'll continue to double crochet in each chain across. The 3 skip chains will count as your first double crochet of this row. As a side note, if you are comfortable working a foundation double crochet, an alternative to row 1 would be to work a row of foundation double crochets to your desired length and then head right on to row 2. As a friendly reminder, you work a double crochet by yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop, then yarn over, draw through 2 loops twice. I've got one more side note. In order to help you with your stitch count, the number of stitches in your rows will be 2 less than the number of stitches in your beginning chain. For example, since my beginning chain contained 19 stitches, I will have a total of 17 double crochets in row 1. This includes those 3 chains that we skipped at the very beginning of row 1. Now that we've finished row 1, let's have a quick look at our work. This is just a regular row of double crochets. I'm going to take a moment and double check my count. I just think this is a good idea whenever you're working on a new stitch pattern. If you count along with me, you'll see that I have 17 double crochets, including this beginning chain 3. Now we're ready to jump into row 2. For row 2, you'll chain 1 and turn, and then you're going to skip the very first stitch, this one right here, and you'll work a double crochet in the next stitch. I'm working this first double crochet nice and slow so you can really see how it's made. And then we'll begin repeating our pattern across for row 2. You'll work a slip stitch into the next stitch, and then a double crochet, slip stitch, double crochet, slip stitch, double crochet. You'll repeat this pattern all the way across. A slip stitch simply means to insert your hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull it through the stitch and through the loop on your hook. The last stitch of row 2 will be worked into the turning chain. At the end of row 2, I'm taking a moment to count my stitches again. You can see that the double crochets are a little more pronounced than the slip stitches. It almost looks like a little zigzag across. Row 3 begins by chaining 3 and turning. Remember, this beginning chain 3 will count as the first double crochet of the row, now and throughout the pattern. You're going to skip the first stitch and work a double crochet in the next stitch and in each stitch across. If you're struggling to see your stitch placement, you'll see that those double crochets have created these ridges. In between each ridge is the slip stitch. You can also turn your work towards you just a little bit because the stitches are much more defined on the back side. We can take a closer look at this next one here. Here's the ridge created by the double crochet right here. And if you turn your work, you can clearly see the stitch that you'll be working your hook into. So that's working into the double crochet, and then right next to that is the slip stitch. And then you'll work into the next double crochet. It's sort of right behind that little ridge. This is one of those things that you'll sort of quickly fall into the rhythm of. Just take your time as you're working your first couple rows until you get used to the feel and look of this new piece of fabric you're creating. The last double crochet of this row is worked into the turning chain. This is just a chain one, so it's a small little stitch there. And now you've completed row 3. Whenever you're working an odd row, the right side of the work is facing you. You'll see that it has the raised florets created by those double crochets and slip stitches. I am loving the texture, and I love that it creates a stripe that I can use either vertically or horizontally in a design. Believe it or not, that's all there is to it. To continue on with the pattern, you'll repeat rows 2 and 3 respectively until your fabric is the size that you want. Here's my completed swatch. I love the texture, I love the stripes, I love how straight the sides of this piece are. I also have not blocked this piece, and you can see that there's no strong slant or curl. In addition to the texture, the fabric it creates is quite solid. I think it would do really well in any wearable, especially something like a sweater. By adding a second color, you could really bring out this row of texture. You could accent the stripes. 3 colors would also be really nice. It would give you a very dynamic looking piece of fabric. I think the Floret Stitch has so many possibilities, and it would even make just a wonderful building block the next time you're working on a project that calls for squares. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make the Floret Stitch today. I'm going to go ahead and make a quick label for mine. I even have the directions for how to make the stitch on the back of my label, and then I can add this stitch to my library. Thank you for watching today. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please hit like and subscribe. I post new videos every Tuesday, and I'm really looking forward to sharing more patterns and more stitches with you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.